stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello, everybody, and good morning. Good morning. It is morning. I have a special guest with me. I'm just checking my audio. It is working. So good morning. We are going to probably wait another minute so that people can hop on. I wanted to introduce Trish. She is going to be coming on. Well, what we're doing is she's coming on to help today because she wants to start going live herself. So she's coming on and kind of hanging out with me today, and she's going to hang out a couple of times till she gets a feel for it. And then she's going to have her own brand of stuff coming out. But this is how we support each other. I'm going to grab some coffee real quick and we'll get started.
No.
Good. All right.
Okay.
All right. I hope everybody's having a good day. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. Let's do some introductions here. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. I am your host today, along with Trish, who will be helping us out today. Good morning, Chris. Good to see you. And if you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. It does matter, but I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I don't care. What it does, it puts you higher up in the feed. And I would rather people had their anonymity than that. So I want to talk a little bit about something before we get started at a turning point. And that's the pay it forward movement that's going on. And a lot of people, what they're doing is they're trying to get others to pay it forward. And that in and of itself cancels out pay it forward. So there was a guy, he was in line and everybody had been paying it forward, and it came to him and the total was $45 and he didn't have it. So people gave him crap about it because he was a TikToker, and he said, no, I'm not going to do it. Because he couldn't. He just didn't want to give in. And I kind of think that's messed up. Like, you never know what's going on in somebody else's life. Like me, I have hardly any money at all. I can't afford to pay $45 for somebody else's meal. I am willing to cook them a meal. I can do that. I got plenty of rice and everything over here. So, when we're looking at this stuff, this is always about getting people to think. And, if we're paying it forward, that it ends there. I don't know. What do you think on that, Trish? And hey, Trish, you can have a little bit of background noise. We don't mind. It's all right.
Okay, I was like, vaccines.
I was the first time too, and I even have people moving stuff out of the cellar. I'm like, you guys can do it as long as you don't talk. I don't care. But yeah, if other people are talking, don't worry about it.
All right.
We're all right.
We are going on a very much needed trip to the mountains.
Good for you.
Background, I do apologize. A very good friend of ours is over here. Take us up there. So that's what's going on in the background. I do apologize, but good morning.
All right. No problem. You know what? The reason I don't mind noise in the background and stuff is because that's life. And I want people to see what happens when people interrupt me, because I want to be a good example for that. So I let it happen. When I first started this, I'm like, shut your fucking mouths. Now I'm like, yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
All right. I just want to make sure we're not being distracted.
You are not. You are absolutely not. So, all right, we've gotten to the 5 minute portion. So, today we're talking about at the turning point, and that is going to be out of Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book. Is going to be out of page 59. Whoop. Well, it looks like we may as well, because this is chapter 5. And so I'm thinking that we should go ahead and just start at the beginning of the chapter. I think that'd be a good place to start. So we are going to actually start at the beginning of chapter 5. That means we're going to be talking about some honesty. We're going to be talking about willingness. We're going to be talking about how rarely they didn't want to stay down here and be rude, but they're got the trash compactor going above me. See, that's why I can't care, because they're trying to be nice, and
Right.
then so I can't care. All right, so and Trish, if you have something you need to say during this, because I certainly like to talk during this, throw it. Just feel free to speak up, interrupt me, whatever we need to do, no problem. So
Cool.
rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. I think that's a great line to start out with. I have seen
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of alcoholics come into the rooms, follow this, and make it, including the people sitting here. Chris got 30 odd years, I think a little more than that. You know, we've all got a little bit of time here and there. Um, but what it comes down to is that we can trust the process. And that's what they're saying there. So um those
Yeah.
who do not recover, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree with that. That pow, it just comes out of the gate.
Yeah,
Because I have and I have thoroughly like double underline.
I do too.
Um, so funny. And I just think that it, that just tells us that we're walking, that we have to pay attention. We really have close with God, and that our disease needs a spiritual solution.
Yeah,
We have a sickness that requires a spiritual solution. Um, I just think that
absolutely.
it just shows us how rare it is to find that, and that because we have to yeah, that's
Yeah.
just
I think there should be
right
an
out of the
exclamation point at the end of that sentence,
gate. Right.
because it is
Right.
so, that one line and starting out that way, it includes everybody. Rarely have we seen. We're not saying me or that person or anybody else. It's a we thing. And we start out by saying it's a we thing. And that's what I love about that line. Um, and then of course there are those who do not recover, people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program, usually men and women that are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. And it does not state that we need to be honest with anybody else. It says just ourselves.
Yeah. Sentence underlined.
I pretty much have this
I
whole paragraph
right,
underlined.
right. It's all highlighted, and it's. I mean, I have had to, and that constitutionally incapable of being
Hmm.
honest with themselves. That that's big, man, all the way. I really had to submit myself to God.
No.
What was wrong with me? I had to be honest and say, okay, you know what? You know what? I am prideful. I am this. I am that. I am control my liquor.
Yeah.
I am a pickle, a cucumber. You know, I had to be honest things. You know, and
Yeah. Well,
until I did that, I was solutions. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And instead of thoroughly following that's lined out here. There's a clear path lined out for us here.
Yes,
It's a
there
clear
is.
illustration, beautiful. And
Mhm.
I'm like, nah, well, I'll use this here and this there. Honest with myself in this area, and I
Lot of two-stepping, yeah.
failed every time.
Yeah. Well, and because it says constitutionally incapable, and that means physically. So, yes, Gary, we know. Thanks. Um, it isn't choppy, it's just a little bit behind. So we're okay, but thank you. Constitutionally incapable of being on, that means we are physically incapable of doing it. So that means we were born little liars, man. We were. We're kind of born liars. And that's where that honesty really comes in. What I call it is they're being as honest as they're able to at the moment, if that makes sense. Because the only
Yeah.
honest thing I knew when I came into the program was that I couldn't do it by myself anymore. It's the only honest thing I knew. I didn't know any. I think the first honest thing I said was I don't know.
Right.
That I just don't know anymore.
Yep.
There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. I love that line because I feel like they're talking about me. I have a lot of mental disorders. I'm not going to speak for you, Trish, but I know. Well, and while you guys
I
speak
do.
on that, yeah, we do. A lot of us have mental disorders. There again, are we going to be honest about that? Are we going to be honest with ourselves and admit the fact that we do have other mental disorders?
Yeah. And I have, you know, basically, like we said, we've got this. We have honesty circled and then like highlighted all the way around because that's the key there. That's totally the
Uh-huh.
key that I have to be honest, God, before I can move forward in anything else. When I'm living in the deception, else for that matter, you know what I mean? I'm not. It cripples my life when I'm living under a deception. You know,
Yeah.
not to bring anything out, but the truth shall set you free, my friend. And
Yeah.
I've found that to be very true in a lot of my life. To that the truth has set me free and
Mm-hmm.
myself. That's
Yeah.
that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
And
So and that's
and yeah,
a it sounded like somebody was clapping. But it um all right, so our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Willing to go to any length. All right. Are we willing to go to any length? And my sponsor asked me that in the very beginning, and he asked me
Mhm.
that again at the third step. He said, Dion, are you willing to go to any length? And I said, yes, I am, because I had the gift of desperation and I knew what was going to happen. I had been in AA before, so I kind of knew what was going to happen. I was looking forward to it.
Right. After
So we got,
everything, I mean, how, I was the same way. It was like, yes, I'm literally telling me to stand on my head and blow. But here we go, because
okay, now your sound is kind of going out. We're going to give it a second because your internet went poof. So I will let you know when it's back up, though. I'm keeping an eye on it. Okay. It'll come back up. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Um, you could try turning off your video. There's a little video button down at the bottom. Now it just cut you out. All right, and then do some talking. See if we can hear you. Yeah, it didn't like that. Go ahead and turn your camera back on. We can see you, but yeah, not getting it. That's okay. That's all right. Some of us try to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil till we let go. Absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. And then here's the part here's the part that we're supposed to be focused on today. Half measures avail us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. That paragraph there is the third step. We're going to be giving all of ourselves over to God in the third step. Okay? And half measures will get you nowhere. And that's why the third step is the turning point. There's a turning point in there because the third step they talk about rubber meets the road. This separates the men from the children. Actually, that's the sixth step. Okay. But the third step does need to be done correctly because it is the lead in to the fourth step and the fifth step, which is going to equal freedom and humility. And you're going to need that for the rest of your life. All right. So, out of the book, every day I stand at turning points. My thoughts and actions can propel me towards growth or turn me down the road to old habits and to booze. Sometimes turning points are beginnings, as when I decided to start praising instead of condemning someone, or when I begin to ask for help instead of going it alone. I think that's the hardest part for everybody is asking for help, especially as alcoholics. Well, let's just say people with addictions. People with isms, we have a hard time asking for help, and for good reason. So, at other times, turning points are endings, such as when I see clearly the need to stop festering resentments or crippling self seeking. Many shortcomings tempt me daily. Therefore, I also have daily opportunities to become aware of them. In one form or another, many of my character defects appear daily: self condemnation, anger, running away, being prideful, wanting to get even or acting out of grandiosity. Attempting half measures to eliminate these defects merely paralyzes my efforts to change. It is only when I ask God for help and with complete abandon that I become willing and able to change. I think that's a little backwards. Is only when I ask for God with complete abandon that I become willing. You become willing before you ask God for complete abandon. That's been my experience. Um, or I'm reading it wrong, which is probably the case. So, so the turning point has to do with completely giving yourself over to God. It is purely the third step, even though we were talking about character defects there. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Chris, it was good to see you. Gary, it was good to see you. Trish, thank you so much for coming on. I know we had some technical difficulties, but that doesn't mean we should ever give up on trying it. We will do this again. Um, um, but we'll do some more testing. So you go up to the mountains, you have fun, you've done your service work. Thank you for doing that. You go have fun. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I love you. I love you all. Peace out and have a day. Bye bye.